I never thought I'd be the guy posting here, but honestly, I need some perspective. My wife Jessica and I had been together for 7 years. We seemed solid, normal, boring, but solid. She's a smart, gorgeous woman, the kind you're proud to show off, and I was always convinced we had a good marriage, or so I thought. Things started feeling off about 2 months ago. Jessica became distant, secretive even. She'd go out with friends, come back late, and the worst part, she'd get defensive if I asked where she'd been or who she was with. She'd brush me off or lie outright. Honestly, I was starting to feel like I was losing my mind or maybe just being paranoid. But then I caught her in a lie that changed everything. It all came crashing down when I decided to check her phone. I know, bad move, but I was desperate for some clarity. I found texts with someone named Mike, a guy I'd never heard her mention before. Their conversations were way too intimate, flirty, teasing, almost like they knew they were doing something wrong but didn't care. I saw her talking about meeting up, about saving time to see him, how much she was missing him. I felt a punch to my gut. This wasn't just a harmless flirt, it was full-blown cheating, or at least that's what it looked like. What really made it worse was the way she lied about everything afterward. I confronted her that night. She looked me right in the eyes and told me she was just talking to an old friend from college, that I was overreacting, that I had no right to invade her privacy. She called me paranoid, said I was crazy for even thinking she'd cheat, but I knew better. I had seen enough. I knew she was lying, and I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and sheer heartbreak. I never thought she could do this to me, especially not after all we'd been through. Honestly, I've never felt so stupid and so furious at the same time. How could she lie so easily? How could she betray me like this after all the vows, the promises? It's like she's a different person and I'm just left here trying to make sense of it all. I keep asking myself, what did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Or was she just waiting for the right moment to screw everything up? All I know is that from that night my life changed forever. After that night, everything felt like a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. My mind kept circling back to her lies, the texts I found, and the way she dismissed my feelings like they didn't matter. I kept asking myself if I had missed the signs or if I was just too blind to see how she'd been acting behind my back. It's weird how you think you know someone and then suddenly it all falls apart in a matter of seconds. I was angry but mostly hurt. Deep down, I felt betrayed in a way I'd never experienced before. The next day, I decided I had to confront her again. I wanted to hear her side, even if I already knew the truth. I sat her down in the living room, my hands trembling, and told her I knew about the affair. Her reaction, she scoffed and rolled her eyes. "Oh, please," she snapped. "That's just some stupid joke, or you're reading too much into things. Mike's just a friend and you're overreacting because you're insecure." That's when she threw in the classic line, "You're just jealous because I'm still attractive and you're getting old." Yeah, she really said that. The girl who's been lying to my face for weeks. I felt my blood boil. How could she be so dismissive, so bitchy about this? I didn't even bother arguing with her anymore. I knew her game. She was good at twisting everything, making me doubt my own intuition. But I wasn't going to let her do that anymore. I told her I'd find out everything and that I wasn't going to stay silent while she played her manipulative games. Her reaction, she looked at me with pure contempt, saying I was crazy, paranoid, and that I was making a big fuss over nothing. She looked so calm, so confident, as if she thought she had already won, like I was just some fool chasing shadows. That day, I started digging deeper. I didn't just want to catch her, I wanted to make her pay. I needed to know everything about her cheating, her lies, her sneaky ways. I installed a spy app on her phone, checked her social media, even followed her when she went out. I felt like I was losing my mind, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I realized how much she'd been toying with me with our marriage. She was so good at hiding her true self, but I was starting to see the pieces fall into place. At the same time, I couldn't help but feel a kind of sick sadness. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. But this betrayal, this gut-wrenching deception made me question everything about us. I wondered how things got so bad, how she could be so callous and selfish. I kept thinking back to the good times, the promises we made, the future we talked about. It all felt like a lie now. And yet, part of me refused to give up. I was determined to find out the full truth and do something about it, no matter how painful or complicated it would be. Over the next few days, I threw myself into surveillance, trying to piece together how long she'd been cheating, who else might be involved, and just how deep her lies went. Every time I saw her sneaking out or getting overly defensive when I asked her questions, I felt more certain I was right. The evidence kept piling up. I found messages from Mike that weren't just flirtatious, they were downright explicit. She had sent him pictures, talked about meeting him again, and even discussed how she was so horny lately, needing something new and exciting. The worst part was how she lied so smoothly every time I tried to confront her. She'd get angry, accuse me of stalking her, or say I was just insecure and jealous of her freedom. She played the victim every damn time. "You're suffocating me," she'd scream. "You don't trust me, and that's why I need to see other people." Yeah, that's what she said. Like I was the problem when she was out there screwing around. It made my blood boil. I felt like I was dealing with a different person, a manipulative, bitchy woman who cared more about her ego and her affair than our marriage. One night I decided enough was enough. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I set up a confrontation, knowing she'd be out again, probably with Mike. I wanted her to see I wasn't going to be a fool anymore. I waited in the living room, my heart pounding. When she finally came home late, of course, she looked surprised to see me awake. I told her I knew everything. Her face went blank for a second, then she rolled her eyes, and with that typical bitchy attitude, she started lying again. "It's none of your business," she snapped. "You're just paranoid, there's no one else. You're crazy if you think I'd cheat on you." That's when I snapped. I told her I'd had enough of her lies, her bullshit, her manipulations. I told her I'd been watching her, spying on her, and that I knew the truth. She was screwing Mike and she'd been lying about everything. Her reaction: she threw a glass across the room, shouting that I was a jealous loser, that I'd ruin everything because I was insecure. She accused me of being controlling, of invading her privacy, of ruining her life. Honestly, hearing her say those things, seeing her act so cold and indifferent, it was a punch in the gut. I'd never seen her like this before. That night, I finally felt like I had enough evidence to do something about it. I was furious, hurt, but also oddly relieved. I'd uncovered the truth, and now I had a choice. I could keep waiting for her to come clean, or I could take control of the situation. But deep down, I knew I couldn't stay in this marriage anymore, not with her lying and sneering like she was better than me. The betrayal was just too deep, and I realized that I deserved better than someone who would cheat and then blame me for catching her. I was done being the fool in this game. I needed to get out, or so I thought at the time. The days that followed were a whirlwind. I couldn't focus on anything else. Every time I saw her, I felt a mix of anger and sadness. She kept up the act, still denying everything, calling me crazy, possessive, and insecure. She insisted she loved me, that she was just bored, that Mike was just a fling, nothing serious. But I could see through her lies now. Her eyes, her tone, everything about her was dripping with contempt and guilt. It was like she was trying to gaslight me into doubting what I knew was true. I started making plans. I knew I couldn't stay with her anymore, not after everything. I reached out to a divorce lawyer, started gathering financial documents, and even thought about staying somewhere else for a while. It was either that or keep living in this charade where she played innocent while sneaking behind my back. Honestly, I felt like I was in a nightmare, but I knew I had to be strong. I couldn't let her manipulate me anymore. She'd lied so much she thought she could keep me in the dark forever, but I was done being the fool. One night, I decided I needed to confront her again, face to face, and lay everything out. I told her I knew about Mike, about the messages, the meetings, everything. Her face twisted into this nasty sneer. She said she didn't owe me any explanations, that I was overreacting, and that I was just jealous because she was more attractive than me. That hurt, seeing her throw those words at me like I was the bad guy. I felt my chest tighten, but I kept my cool. I told her I was done, that I was leaving, that I couldn't live like this anymore. Her reaction was pure venom. She yelled at me, called me pathetic, and said I was just trying to control her. She told me I was lucky she even stayed with me this long, that I was old news and nobody would want me anyway. It was like she was reveling in her power to tear me down. I was stunned at how cold and bitchy she'd become. I'd loved this woman, I'd trusted her, and now I was standing here, feeling like the biggest idiot on earth. But I also felt a strange sense of relief. At least I finally knew the truth. No more lies, no more pretending. That night I made the decision. I was going to end this marriage. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't see what was happening right in front of me. The betrayal was just too much. I knew she'd try to make me feel guilty, try to keep me from leaving, but I also knew I needed to do what was best for me. I couldn't keep carrying this weight. It was time to cut my losses even. If it hurt like hell, I'd be better off without her, and deep down I knew I deserved that. The pain was real, but I was finally starting to accept it one step at a time. The aftermath hit me harder than I expected. I moved out of the house a few days after that last confrontation. It was a mess of emotions, anger, sadness, relief, and a strange sort of emptiness. I stayed with a friend for a while, trying to process everything. It felt like my world had been turned upside down, and I was just trying to hold on. Seeing her so bitchy and manipulative during those final days just made me realize how much I'd been blind. She had played me for a fool, and honestly, part of me hoped she'd regret it. In the quiet moments, I kept replaying everything. Her lies, the texts, her bitchy attitude, the way she dismissed my feelings. It stung badly, but I also knew I had to accept that I was better off without her. I wasn't going to fall into some trap of guilt or try to fix what was broken beyond repair. I started focusing on myself, working out, reconnecting with friends, and trying to rebuild some sense of normalcy. I knew I needed time to heal, but at least I felt some kind of power back in my hands now. One thing I learned from this entire nightmare is how easy it is to trust someone and then realize they've been lying the whole time. It's a brutal lesson, but it's made me more cautious. I also realized how important it is to listen to your gut, to not dismiss those little nagging doubts that creep in. I should have trusted myself from the start instead of brushing it off. Now I'm trying to remind myself that I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who values me, not someone who screws around and then calls me crazy when I find out. I won't say I've fully moved on yet, but I'm getting there. The pain is still fresh, but I know I'll come out of this stronger. Honestly, I just want anyone reading this to know, if you find yourself in a situation like I did, don't ignore the signs. Don't let someone manipulate you into thinking it's your fault. You're worth more than that. Trust your instincts even if it hurts. Because in the end, the truth might be brutal, but it's better than living in a lie. And sometimes, walking away is the only way to find peace. Looking back now, I realize how much this whole ordeal changed me. At first, I was devastated, humiliated even, trust shattered, pride wounded, feeling like I'd been played for a fool. But gradually, I started to see things differently. I began to understand that I deserved honesty and respect, and that staying in a marriage built on lies would have only made me more miserable. The betrayal was a punch to the gut, but it also forced me to confront what I truly wanted out of life. I've come to see that sometimes, giving someone the power to hurt you that badly is a lesson in self-worth. I learned the importance of listening to that quiet voice inside, your gut, that tells you when something's wrong. Ignoring those signs only prolongs the pain. And honestly, I've learned that revenge isn't about hurting her back. It's about reclaiming my dignity and moving forward without her. Now, I'm focusing on rebuilding myself piece by piece. I've started dating again cautiously, but I've learned not to settle. I refuse to be with someone who lies and manipulates. I want honesty, respect, and someone who genuinely cares about me. I know I'll heal, even if the scars from this betrayal will stay with me for a while. But I also know I'm stronger than I thought, and I won't let her actions define my future. If there's any advice I can give, it's this: trust yourself. Don't ignore those warning signs. And most importantly, don't stay in a situation that constantly makes you doubt your worth. Life's too short for that kind of pain. Sometimes, walking away is the bravest thing you can do. And in doing so, you give yourself a chance to find happiness again, something that, after everything, I now believe I deserve.